Hello, everyone. This series we try to discuss some previous year UPSC questions on history. There are different history-based questions that may give us an idea about the upcoming questions in different civil servant examinations, particularly APSC and APSC. The first questions is, since the decade of the 1920s, the national movement acquired various ideological strands and thereby expanded its social base. Discuss. So কি কৈছে যে 1920 পৰা নেশ্যনেল মুভমেণ্ট বিলাকে এটা ডিফাৰেণ্ট টাইপ ভেৰিয়াছ আইডিঅলজিকেল ষ্ট্ৰেণ্ডছ ফ'ল' কৰিছিল বা একোৱাৰ্ড কৰিছিল আৰু তাৰ ফলত কি হৈছে এটা এটা ছ'চিয়েল বেছ এক্সপাণ্ড কৰিব পাৰিছিল. Since the decade of the 1920s, the national movement acquired various ideological strands and thereby expanded its social base. Discuss. So here the directive word is discuss. So we have to discuss everything in details. This is a question from UPSC 2020. Let's come to the solution. The 1920s was a watershed decade in the history of Indian national movement. See, the keyword here uses watershed, right? A kind of line, you can say that before that something other was happening and after that some changes are happening, right? So that's why the 1920 is just termed as a watershed decade. The events and changes which manifested in the decade were seminal as they remarkably changed the course of freedom struggle. Means because the changes that came after this watershed decade, they remarkably changed the course of freedom struggle. What are the ideologies that influenced the freedom cycle? We know that this is the decade after which actually from which the some famous what we can say national movements happened under some famous national leaders, and Mahatma Gandhi was one of such very popular leader, right? Sorry. And their philosophies can be considered as their ideologies, or we can consider them as unique ideologies that influence the freedom cycle struggle. So first we have to mention Gandhian. So Mahatma Gandhi introduced new techniques of ahimsa, non-violence, and non-cooperation to the national movement. So Mahatma Gandhi যেটো টেকনিক আনিলে হেতুক আমি ahimsa বুলি কওঁ বা non-violence বুলি কওঁ, and non-cooperation to the national movement. The non-cooperation movement in the early 1920s was the first true nationwide movement. So what happened before that? Different types of movement happened, but those were region based, right? Suppose আমাৰ অসমত হৈ আছে, অসমৰ পাৰ্টিকুলাৰ ৰিজনত হৈ আছে, বেংগলৰ পাৰ্টিকুলাৰ ৰিজনত হৈ আছে, so বিহাৰৰ পাৰ্টিকুলাৰ ৰিজনত হৈ আছে. So those were actually region based, but this non-cooperation movement, a kind of national movement, and as it actually taking place from different parts of India, right? With the single aim or the single goal, it is been supported by the means different leaders throughout India, and obviously under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. So Gandhian, if we consider the Gandhian as ideology, then the main focus of this ideology was on ahimsa and non-cooperation. Then communism, a powerful left-wing group developed in India in the late 1920s and 1930s. আমি সবেই জানো যে রাইট উইং আৰু লেফট উইং দুটা গ্ৰুপ থাকে, right? So left wing kind of a group is that one who is usually criticize the government. So communism is one such left wing group developed in India in the late 1920s and 1930s. The steam of the struggle for the independence and that of the struggle for social and economic emancipation of the suppressed began to come together. See this line? This is a very important line. The stream of the struggle for independence and that of the struggle for social and economic emancipation of the suppressed began to come together. The establishment of the organization like Communist Party of India 1925, All India Trade Union Congress 1920, Workers and Peasant Parties 1927 extended the reach of communism throughout the India among workers and peasants. So what is happening is that in the late 1920s and 1930s, the struggle from the suppressed ones began. They formed different parties, like Communist Parties of India in 1925, All India Trade Union Congress 1920, and Workers and Peasants Parties 1927. And with these parties, they extend the reach of this communism, because this is communism and this is a left-wing group. In fact, a powerful left-wing group. Why? Because they now stood, or you can say that they now stood against the government's rule for suppressing them, right? So this communism is also considered as an ideology in that period, right? Then next one, communalism. See, don't be confused. One eye we got as Gandhian, second we got as Gandhian was based on ahimsa. Second one we got as communism, that was truly left-wing group, right? And then third one is the communalism. Post 1922, communalism reared its ugly head, and the country was repeatedly plunged into communal riots. Old communal organizations were revived and fresh ones were founded. The Muslim League and the Hindu Mahasabha began to further their vested interest. ইয়াত কেইটামান কঠিন শব্দ, এইখিনি আমি বহুত মানে ভাল ৰিচোৰ্চৰ পৰা কালেক্ট কৰা হৈছে, like online resources or this thing. বহুত ধুনীয়া ধুনীয়া sentence use কৰিছে. We should not copy them actually. We have to change the sentences while we are writing in our own words, right? But we have to learn that how the sentences, standard sentences are formed. So ইয়াত কৈছে communalismত কি হৈছে, communalism reared its ugly head and the counties were repeatedly plunged into communal riots. Communalismৰ যিটো ugly head হেতু আহি গৈছিল তোমাৰ post 1922 পাছৰ পৰা, আৰু কাউন্টিখনক communal riotsৰ ফালে ঠেলি লৈ গৈছিল। আগৰ যিখিনি পুৰণা কমিউনেল অৰ্গেনাইজেশ্যনছ আছিলে সেইখিনিও ৰিভাইভ কৰিছিলে, আৰু নতুন নতুন বহুত কিছুমান কমিউনেল অৰ্গেনাইজেশ্যন ফাণ্ড কৰা হৈছিলে। আমি ক'ব লাগিবই যে এই ক্ষেত্ৰত যি চবতকৈ বেছি ৰাইটছৰ মানে সূত্ৰপাত কৰিছিল সেইখিনি আমি জানো, মুছলিম লীগ। চ' মুছলিম লীগ এণ্ড হিন্দু মহাসভা, এই ইয়াত তাহাঁতৰ বেষ্টেড ইণ্টাৰেষ্ট দেখিবলৈ পোৱা গৈছিল। So communalism, we can also consider communalism a kind of ideology where the main motive was to plunge India into different types of communal riots. And that happened post 1922 when early communal organization revived and few fresh ones also founded, and Muslim League and Hindu Mahasabha are such organizations who now began to further their vested interest through this communalism ideology. So we got Gandhian, we got communism, we got communalism. Now the fourth one is revolutionary activism. Right, revolutionary activism. Now, failure of the peaceful mediums had frustrated the youth. Ami janu deka hokolor tes gorom. The youngs have, means what we can say, the blood that can fight for the wrong things. they have very warm blood. That is supposed to say like that, right? So when the peaceful medium fail to give their rights, then what will they take? What will they take means what stand they have to take? Obviously, there will be a high chance of moving towards some violent procedures, and this revolutionary activism was such kind of ideology now which attracted most such frustrated youth. They began to mobilize with secret organizations like Hindustan Republic Association 1923 and Hindustan Socialist Republic Association 1928. So এই যে দুটা অর্গানাইজেশন আছে, Hindustan Republic Association 1923 and Hindustan Socialist Republic Association 1928, they are kind of revolutionary organization. Ram Prasad Bismil, Asfaqullah Khan, Chandrasekhar Azad, Bhagat Singh, among others, actively engaged in anti-colonial activities and encouraged the youth to join the cause. So we just got to know that when the peace sorry for this, I think the network being disconnected. So what I was saying that when the peaceful medium failed, that pushed the youth, the frustrated youth, towards the kind of violent revolutionary activism, and some organization also started like Hindustan Republic Association in 1923 and Hindustan Socialist Republic Association in 1928, and some very actively participated such leaders were Ram Prasad Bismil, Asfaqullah Khan, Ram Prasad Bismil, Asfaqullah Khan, Chandrasekhar Azad, and Bhagat Singh. And they actually engage in anti-colonial activities and encourage other youth to join the cause. So let's summarize what are the ideologies that we have seen. First one is Gandhian, based on non-violence, right? That started with non-cooperation movement in early 1920s. Then communism, left-wing groups that developed in the late 1920s and 1930s, and some organizations started like Communist Party of India 1925, All India Trade Union Congress 1920, and Workers and Peasant Parties 1927, which supported these suppressed ones to fight for their right. Then communalism post 1922, communalism reared its ugly head and pushed India towards violent communal riots, and some organization actually started this type of communal riots for their vested interests like Muslim League and Hindu Mahasabha. Then revolutionary activism took place because of the reason that failure of means non-violent or peaceful mediums pushed those frustrated youth to take the violent activities as to gain their rights. Like some organization, Hindustan Republic Association 1923, Hindustan Socialist Republic Associations like 1920 in 1928 are such organizations who are actually spoiling this type of activism. Ram Prasad Bismil, Asfaqullah Khan, Chandrasekhar Azad, Bhagat Singh are few very active revolutionary activities, those who engage in anti-colonial activities, and they also encourage the other youth to join the cause. Okay, এইখিনি আমি short কৰো. Now expansion of social base, এইখিনি আমাৰ social base to কি expand কৰিছিল আচলতে? Gandhiji for the first time made the national movement a mass movement. People from every background began to participate in the protests. Peasants, Eka movement, tribals, Alluri Sitaram Raju vigorously engaged in challenging the authority of British rule. So etu kobo lagiboi ami je ei je asil apunar ideology bilake কি কৰিলে এটা social base establish কৰিছে like Gandhian philosophy, Gandhian idealism. What happened that Gandhi for the first time made the national movement as a mass movement, because people from every background seem to be participating, like peasants, Eka movement হৈছিল, then tribals, Alori Sitaram Raju, they vigorously engaged in challenging the authority of British rule for the first time. So we have seen that peoples from the various backgrounds also participating in the national movement and making it as a mass movement against British through the Gandhian ideology, right? So this establishes that social base. Now, due to this new awakening, the suppressed and social classes asserted the just a minute. This should be asserted their rights in the society. Movements like Vaikam Satyagraha, Kerala, Adi Dharma movement of Punjab, 1926, were the outcome of aspiration of the suppressed and Dalits. So if we can't remember the years, at least we can remember the name, right? So this type of happen in new awakening also means also give some kind of fuels to the suppressed or social classes to assert their rights in the society, right? And few example of such movements are, right, Vaikam Satyagraha of Kerala and Adi Dharma movement of Punjab. Okay. Now, next thing, women no longer remain or no longer confined to the houses, and freedom fighters such as Amrit Kaur, Susheta Kriplani, Aruna Asaf Ali actively participated and shaped the national movement. So this is again a new thing. Initially, we did not have such type of women participation, right? Now, after this means after this means non-cooperation movement being started by Gandhiji, we can see that many freedom fighters from women's side also taking part in such events, in such moments. They no longer remain confined in their houses, and few such freedom fighters were Rajkumari Amrit Kaur, Suseta Kriplani, Aruna Asaf Ali. We have to remember the name Rajkumari Amrit Kaur, Suseta Kriplani to Monote Hekibo, then Aruna Asaf Ali. They also actively participated and shaped the national movement. Right? So women participation can be seen here. Now, earlier, the freedom struggle with a narrow social base was confined to the middle class and the elites only. আগতে কি হৈছিলে, আগতে আমাৰ যিখিনি ফ্ৰীডম সাৰ্কুল আছিল, they were confined to only the middle class and the elites মানে যিসকল অলপ উচ্চ খাপত আছিল, right? সব ফালৰ পৰা, either from the economic point of view or from the educational background, they are at the higher upper level. So we can see that there was only middle class or elite participation. So that social base was narrow in such earlier freedom struggle. But this watershed, that is 1920s, after 1920s, what happened? 1920s witnessed the expansion of the social base, and people from every stratum began to associate themselves with it through different ideological dimensions. Means what happened, that earlier the social base was narrow, only the middle class and elites, but this 1920s witnessed an expansion of the social base, because people from different corner, or you can say people from different stratum, began participating in the national movement. Yes, their ideology may be different. Some were supporting Gandhian, some were supporting say communism, some were supporting communalism, and some were engaging in themselves in kind of revolutionary activities. But it was true that the social base being expanded, the participation of masses made the struggle more vibrant and inclusive. Remember the key word, vibrant and inclusive, because now the social base being expanded. So that's why now movement became turned into mass movement. And because of this mass movement, the struggle, this national struggle, movement struggle, you can say national struggle, became more vibrant and inclusive. This keyword inclusive. Why? Because now this is including the peoples from different stratum of the society. So this was the answer of this question. Okay. So we have gone through this question. Since the decade of 1920s, the national movement acquired various ideological strands and thereby expanded in social base. So, ek minute ami a question to answer to akkoibar revise korisu within 1 minute. So, ami dekhibole palu what we have seen that after this 1920s, some changes been occurs. That's why we have termed it as a watershed decade, and we can see different type of ideologies, right? Means remarkably changed the course of freedom, and such ideologies like Gandhian, Mahatma Gandhi introduced this with the base concept of non-violence, non-comparison movement in 1920s. It was the first true nationwide movement. Then communism, powerful left-wing group developed this in the late 1920s and 1930s. Some organizations like Communist Party of India 1925, All India Trade Union Congress, All India Trade Union Congress of 1920, Workers and Peasants Parties of 1927. These are the organizations who have fueled this communism ideology, and this happened because of the struggle that been faced by the suppressed ones in the society. So now they stood to fight against the suppression bringing down, or I mean, imposed upon them, right? And this has been now extended to the reach of different workers and peasants throughout India, right? So this is communism. Then communalism, this happened post 1922, and this when communism started its ugly head. Then India been plunged into different kinds of or different violent communal riots, and some organizations who are old organization, they were revived, and some fresh ones being funded. Muslim League and Hindu Mahasabha could be seen that they began to further their vested interests. Then revolutionary activism by some frustrated youth who failed to achieve their rights through peaceful movements. So Hindustan Republic Association 1923, Hindustan Socialist Republic Association 1928, this been started, this type of activism, and some famous activists in this type of activism were Ram Prasad Bismillah, Asfaqullah Khan, Chandrasekhar Azad, Bhagat Singh. Okay, they also inspired others to join this type of activism. Then we can see that this type of ideology expanded the social base. Earlier, what happened? This was just constrained only to the means elite and the middle class. So we can see now development of this base to a greater extent. Now, as you can see that Gandhiji, when he started national movement, people from every background participated. Like you can see the participation of peasants, Eka movement, participation of the tribals, Aluri Sitaram Baraju. They also vigorously engaged in challenging the authority of British India. Now, again, we can see the because of this new awakening, the suppressed social classes also asserted their rise in societies. Some kind of movements like Vaikam Satyagraha of Kerala, then Adi Dharma movement of Punjab, were the outcome of aspiration from the suppressed and Dalit classes. Then also we can see the women participation in national movement. Now they no longer remain confined to their houses. Freedom fighters like Rajkumari Amit Kaur, then Sucheta Kripalani, then Aruna Asaf Ali, right? They were famous who participated, or you can say that shaped the national movement. So earlier, when the freedom cycle was confined to a narrow social base now of only middle class and elites, now it is being expanded to the peoples from every stratum of the society. So now this participation of masses makes the struggle, this national struggle, more vibrant and inclusive. So that's the answer. Let's come to the next question. Next question is, bring out the constructive programs of Mahatma Gandhi during the non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement. So question to ki hudise exactly? কৈছে যে মহাত্মা গান্ধীৰ নন কোঅপাৰেশ্যন মুভমেণ্ট আৰু চিভিল ডিছঅবিডিয়েঞ্চ মুভমেণ্টৰ সময়ত কি কি কনষ্ট্ৰাক্টিভ প্ৰগ্ৰেম লোৱা হৈছিল হোৱাট আৰ দ্য কনষ্ট্ৰাক্টিভ প্ৰগ্ৰেমছ অফ মহাত্মা গান্ধী ডিউৰিং নন কোঅপাৰেশ্যন মুভমেণ্ট এণ্ড চিভিল ডিছঅবিডিয়েঞ্চ মুভমেণ্ট Gandhi's comprehensive plan of national regeneration, which he named the constructive program, aimed at establishing social order based on truth and non-violence. Gandhiji believed that foreign domination in India lived and prospered because of our negligence towards the fundamental duties as a nation. Collective fulfillment of these duties can be referred to as the constructive program. So first, we try to define that what is constructive program. And those are nothing but the Gandhi's comprehensive plan of national regeneration. Gandhi's comprehensive plan of national regeneration. This program aimed at establishing social order based on truth and non-violence. Remember, based on truth and non-violence. He believed that foreign domination in India lived and prospered only because we Indians negligence towards our own fundamental duties as a nation. So collective fulfillment of these fundamental duties can be referred to as a constructive program. Gandhiji কি কৈছিল যে আমি ইন্ডিয়ান সকলে আমাৰ যি ফান্ডামেন্টাল ডিউটিজ আছে ফান্ডামেন্টাল ডিউটিজ এজ এ নেশ্যন আছে সেইখিনি আমি ইগনোৰ কৰিছো দ্যাটছ ৱাই ফৰেন ডমিনেশ্যন কি হৈছে বাঢ়ি গৈ আছিল কাৰণ আমি সেই একতাত বিশ্বাস কৰা নাছিলো তেওঁতো সহজকৈ কি কৰিছিলে what he started is that he started to establish the social order and that too on the base of truth and non-violence. So collective fulfillment of these duties, collective একেলগে যেতিয়া আমাৰ গোটেই মানুহখিনিৰ ফান্ডামেন্টাল ডিউটিজ এজ এ ইণ্ডিয়ান ফুলফিল হ'ব সেই কেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ প্ৰগ্ৰাম বিলাকক আমি ক'ব পাৰিম কনষ্ট্ৰাক্টিভ প্ৰগ্ৰাম মিন্স collective fulfillment of these duties can be referred as the constructive program. So constructive programs are the programs who help at establishing some kind of reforms by which the Indians could focus on their fundamental duties in India as nations, right? Now, constructive programs during non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement can be summarized as follows, like communal unity. According to Gandhi, communal unity does not merely mean political unity, but should be an unbreakable unity of hearts. And this was achieved during the Lucknow Pact 1916, where both Indian National Congress and Muslim League joined hands in the just a minute. Just a minute. Okay, so what I was saying that this communal unity it was achieved during the Lucknow Pact 1916 when both Indian National Congress and Muslim League joined hands against British rule. So means according to Gandhi, communal unity does not just mean that political unity, it means that unbreakable unity of hearts, and he saw it through Lucknow Pact of 1916 when both INC and Muslim League joined hands against British rule. Then removal of untouchability. So untouchability remove কৰাটো এটা ভাল constructive program ভিতৰত পৰে. Gandhi held that untouchability was a blot and curse upon Indian society. Gandhi endeavored to abolish this evil. He founded Harijan Sevak Sangh for the abolition of untouchability in 1932 after his Pune Act. So what happened? That after communal unity, second thing that Gandhi focused on is the removal of untouchability. He considered untouchability, or he held untouchability as a blot and curse upon Indian society. What? এই শব্দকেইটা বহুত ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট, ব্লট এণ্ড কাৰ্ছ আপন ইণ্ডিয়ান ছ'চাইটি। আমাৰ ইণ্ডিয়ান ছ'চাইটিৰ ওপৰত থকা এটা সাপ বুলি তেওঁ অভিনীত কৰিছিলে গোটেই এইটোক untouchability. He endeavored to abolish this evil, and that's why he established Harijan Sevak Sangh for this in 1932 after Pune Pact. So 1916 চনৰ Lucknow Pact হল, where he focused on communal unity through INC and Muslim League joining hands together against British rule. Then removal of untouchability by establishing Harijan Sevak Sangh in 1932 after Pune Pact. Then next thing he focused is the khadi making. Right. So khadi making, Gandhi presented khadi as a symbol of nationalism, economic freedom, equality, and self-reliance. Khadi takes the central place in the upliftment of the village economy, which eventually lead to the attainment of Gram Swaraj. So Mahatma Gandhi নিজকে independent কৰোৱা in the sense that we should not depend on foreign country products. We should be self-sufficient in everything, where he focused with. And one such what I can say, constructive program by which Gandhiji focused on self-sufficient is the khadi making. He presented khadi as a symbol of nationalism, economic freedom. Remember the keywords or key terms. Economic freedom. He presented khadi movement or khadi making as a economic freedom. Then equality and self-reliance. নিজকে self-sufficient কৰোৱা, বহুত সময় আমাৰ কি হৈ থাকিব তেতিয়া, আনৰ ওপৰত ডিপেন্ডেন্সিটো নাথাকিব। So Gandhi presented khadi as a symbol of nationalism, as a economic freedom, symbol of economic freedom, symbol of nationalism, symbol of economic freedom, then symbol of equality and self-reliance. And this khadi takes the central place in the upliftment of village economy, which eventually lead to the attainment of Gram Swaraj. Then after that, after khadi movement, he next constructive word program he started is the new or basic education. Gandhiji's concept of new education implies that nature, society, and crafts are huge medium of education. According to him, true education is that which draws out and stimulates the spiritual, intellectual, and physical faculties of the children. This education ought to be for them a kind of insurance against unemployment. So Gandhiji started a concept of new education. And this new educations, according to this new education of Gandhiji, nature, society, and crafts are the mediums of education. Nature, society, and crafts. He said that true education is that which can draw out and stimulate the spiritual, intellectual, and physical faculties. So according to him, education will be true in that sense only when it is able to draw out and stimulate spiritualism. He believed mostly on the spiritual fact. That's why he focused on what? Ahimsa and truth. So spiritualism, intellectualism, and physical faculties of the children. And that education obviously guarantees or kind of insurance against unemployment can be brought. Right? New or basic education. Then after that, where he focuses the upliftment of women. So in his mission of Swaraj, Gandhiji needed cooperation of women, kisans, laborers, and students. It was only due to Gandhi's effort that women came out of their houses for the first time in the history and participated in the Indian political struggle. So next thing যিটো আমাৰ গান্ধীজীয়ে constructive program কৰিছিল, the Gandhiji's next constructive program was upliftment of women. Initially, women constrained themselves inside the house only. They never came out of that. But Gandhiji inspired them to come out of them. Even Gandhiji asked for the cooperation from kisans also, laborers also, students also, and women also. So because of Gandhi's effort, for the first time, women came out of their houses and they participated in Indian political struggle. So that's a great kind of achievement. So we have seen that constructive program of non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement were communal unity. So communal unity, then removal of untouchability, then khadi making, new or basic education, and upliftment of women. Now, integration of Indian society was perhaps more difficult than achievement of freedom, because in this process, there existed a possibility of conflict between different groups and classes of our own people. So in this scenario, Gandhian constructive rule played a key role of nation building. So we can see that in Indian society, there are kind of diversism, right? Diversism of different classes and different type of thinking ideologies. But Gandhiji tried to integrate them. And this type of integration of Indian society was perhaps more difficult than the achievement of freedom, because during this process, the possibility of a high sense of possibility of conflict was there between different groups and classes of our own society or of our own nation or of our own people. So, but this never happened. Gandhiji suppressed Gandhiji succeeded to united them for the same interest, that is the that is the freedom struggle, or that was, we can say, to gain independence from British. So that's why in this scenario we can say that Gandhian constructive rule played a significant or key role in nation building. So this question was also important. This was being asked in, I think, 2020 or something. I forgot the year, but this question was previously asked in UPSC examination. So question was about the different constructive programs of Mahatma Gandhi during non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement. And we have seen that based on truth and non-violence, Gandhiji tries to establish social order, and he believed that freedom, it was possible only after the integration of different types of division of our Indian society, integration of different types of division of our own Indian society. And he tried to do that by working towards some constructive program, and those constructive program focused on kind of creation of awareness towards our own fundamental duties. And these constructive programs can be summarized as one was communal unity. After the Lucknow Pact 1916, what happened that both INC and Muslim League joined hands together to fight against British rule. So this was Gandhi's approach only, and he actually believed that communal identity or unity does not mean political unity, but it was an unbreakable unity of hearts. Then removal of untouchability. He held that untouchability was a blot and curse upon Indian society. So he started Harijan Seva Sangh for the abolition of untouchability in 1932 after Punapek. Then Khadi making, he believed on self upliftment or self-reliance. So he presented Khadi as a symbol of nationalism, Khadi as a symbol of economic freedom, Khadi as a symbol of equality and self-reliance. So Khadi takes central place in the upliftment of village economy. So that lead to the attainment of Gram Swaraj. Then he focus on newer basic education, and that implies nature, society, and crafts are used mediums of education. He said that true education is the one which can draw out and stimulate spiritual, intellectual, and physical faculties of children. The education ought to be for them a kind of insurance against unemployment. Then upliftment of women. He needed a cooperation from women, kisan, laborers, and students. So it is his efforts only that women for the first time came out of their houses and participated in Indian freedom struggle or Indian political struggle. So integration of Indian society was perhaps the more difficult than the achievement of freedom, because at that time and this time also, today's also, there exists a possibility of conflicts between different groups and classes of our own people. So, but Gandhiji succeeded to stop those things and call them to be united against the British rule. So, Gandhijian constructive role in this scenario played a key role in nation building. I think these are sufficient for today. So we have discussed two important questions that came from UPSC examinations. So that's all for today. We again meet for this history session. Thank you.